The rain tapped gently against the window, filling Ibrahim Traoré's small apartment with a steady rhythm. He sat alone on a worn-out couch, eyes fixed on an old, faded photograph. In the picture, two teenage boys smiled with arms around each other. One was him, the other was Karim, his best friend from long ago. The room was dimly lit, with shadows dancing across the cracked walls. A small table next to him held a half-finished cup of tea, now cold. Ibrahim's face looked tired, marked by lines of worry and regret. Behind his dark eyes, a sadness lived, a sadness that never truly left him. He lifted the photograph and ran his thumb across Karim's smiling face. His hands trembled slightly, as if touching the past made his own heart unsteady. A whisper escaped his lips. "Karim, I'm so sorry, my friend." Memories flooded his mind, moments he wished he could forget. The last time they spoke had ended. In anger, sharp words, and broken trust, the betrayal that shattered their friendship still haunted him. He'd let pride and stubbornness build a wall between them, and now it was too late to tear it down. Karim had died 5 years ago. Some said it was an accident, a late-night motorcycle crash on a lonely road. Others more quietly whispered it was suicide. Ibrahim never asked, too afraid of the answer, too afraid of his own part in it. He sighed and set the photo down, leaning back on the couch. The rain's gentle rhythm grew louder in the silence, filling the room with a sense of unease. He rubbed his temples, wishing he could turn back time and fix the mistakes that had driven them apart. A sharp, sudden sound broke the silence. His phone rang, its shrill tone slicing through the quiet room. Ibrahim jumped, heart pounding. He stared at the screen. An unknown number. His thumb hovered over the answer button. Something deep inside warned him to let it ring. But curiosity, and a strange pull he couldn't explain, pushed him to press the button. "Hello?" he asked, his voice unsure. At first, there was only silence. Then a slow, raspy voice spoke on the other end. It was a voice he hadn't heard in 5 years, yet one he could never forget. "Ibrahim, my old friend. Did you think I'd forgotten you?" His breath caught in his chest. Cold fear washed over him like ice in his veins. The voice sounded exactly like Karim's, same teasing edge, same familiar tone. But how? Karim was dead. "Karim?" he stammered. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" A dry, broken laugh came through the line, sending shivers down his spine. It was a laugh that carried pain and anger. "No joke, Ibrahim. There's unfinished business between us. You left me, alone. You turned your back, and now it's your turn to face the truth." Ibrahim's hands shook. His eyes darted around the small apartment, every shadow now looking like it could hold a secret. His voice was barely a whisper. "But you're dead." The voice on the line grew cold, each word sharp like a knife. "Death is just a doorway. Ibrahim, some debts must be paid, and this life or the next, and yours is long overdue." Then the call ended. Ibrahim stared at the phone in his hand, the screen now blank and silent. His heart raced, sweat dampening his forehead. The rain outside grew heavier, matching the pounding in his chest. He sat frozen, the echoes of the past louder than the storm. Outside, his mind spun with questions and regrets. Whatever had started between him and Karim wasn't over yet. And now, the past had come back to collect its due. Ibrahim barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Karim's face, sometimes smiling, sometimes twisted in pain. He woke up drenched in sweat, the sound of his own heartbeat echoing in his ears. As the sun rose, casting a pale light through the curtains, the sense of unease refused to leave him. He tried to brush it off as just a bad dream. Maybe it was stress. After all, he'd been working late at the office trying to forget the past. But as he moved through his morning routine, a strange feeling gnawed at his mind. Something wasn't right. In the kitchen, he reached for his coffee mug, but it slipped from his hands and shattered on the floor. The sound startled him more than it should have. He knelt to clean up the shards, but as he did, he felt a cold breath on the back of his neck, like someone was standing right behind him. He spun around, but the kitchen was empty. His hands shook as he picked up the broken pieces. A memory flashed in his mind, Karim laughing, teasing him about his clumsiness during their college days. The sound of that laughter echoed in his head, even though the room was silent. Later that afternoon, as he sat at his desk, his phone buzzed. The screen showed another unknown number. His stomach twisted, but he told himself it was probably just a wrong call. Still, a cold sweat broke out on his forehead as he answered. "Hello?" No one replied. There was only the crackle of static like a broken radio. Then a faint whisper drifted through, so soft he almost thought he imagined it. "Ibrahim." His heart pounded. He threw the phone down, his breath ragged. That voice, he knew it too well. Karim's voice, calling from somewhere he shouldn't. He forced himself to focus on his work, but his mind kept drifting. The computer screen blurred as memories of his fights with Karim filled his head. The harsh words, the pride that kept them apart. The night he found out Karim was gone, and he hadn't even said goodbye. That night, he lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The shadows on the walls seemed to move on their own, stretching and twisting in ways they shouldn't. Every creak of the old building felt like footsteps. He closed his eyes and tried to block it all out, but sleep brought no peace. His dreams were filled with Karim's face, pale and accusing. He saw the accident, Karim's bike skidding, his body lying still on the road. Ibrahim ran to help, but his feet wouldn't move. He was frozen, forced to watch helplessly. Karim turned his head slowly, his eyes full of betrayal. "You left." "Me," Karim whispered in the dream. "You turned your back on me." Ibrahim woke with a strangled cry, his chest heaving. Tears pricked his eyes. He tried to tell himself it was just a nightmare, but the guilt felt too real. The next morning at work, he tried to act normal, but his colleagues noticed the dark circles under his eyes. When he told them about the strange calls and the dreams, they laughed it off. "You've been working too hard," one said. "You need a break." "Maybe lay off the coffee," another joked, but Ibrahim didn't laugh. He couldn't. Every time he looked at his phone, he expected it to ring. Every time a shadow flickered in the corner of his eye, his heart jumped. He felt like the walls were closing in. One evening, after a long day at work, he sat in the living room staring at his phone. It buzzed again. His hands trembled as he picked it up. A text message glowed on the screen. "You can't hide forever, Ibrahim." His throat went dry. That was the exact phrase Karim had used during one of their worst fights. The fight that ended their friendship. He stared at the message, hoping it was a prank, but deep down he knew the truth. Karim's words were back to haunt him. And this time, they weren't going away. Ibrahim felt alone. His friends didn't believe him, his family didn't understand, and the guilt he carried felt heavier than ever. He thought of the arguments, the shouting, the slamming of doors, thought of all the chances he'd had to say sorry, and all the chances he'd thrown away. Now it seemed the past had come back for him, and this time there was no way to run. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, knowing that the haunting had only just begun. Ibrahim couldn't take it anymore. Every night Karim's voice echoed in his head, accusing him, haunting him. Every time his phone buzzed, his heart jumped. The guilt felt like a stone in his chest, heavy and unmovable. He knew he couldn't ignore it any longer. He had to find the truth. Maybe then he could finally sleep. One gray morning, Ibrahim stepped out into the humid air of Ouagadougou, determined to learn what really happened to Karim. The city felt different, colder, as if shadows clung to every corner. He started by visiting Karim's old home, a small house tucked away on a quiet street. The paint was peeling, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. Memories flooded his mind as he knocked on the door. An elderly woman answered, Karim's mother. Her face was lined with pain, her eyes distant, like she'd spent years searching for something she'd never find. "Madame," Ibrahim began, his voice trembling, I was Karim's friend. I need to understand about the night he died." Her eyes clouded over. and she shook her head slowly. Karim was never the same after you two stopped talking, she whispered. He carried a sadness I couldn't reach. She invited Ibrahim in and offered him tea. As they sat in the dim kitchen, she spoke in hushed tones, like every word. Cost her a piece of her heart. He used to smile so easily, she said, tears shining in her eyes. But after the fight between you two, he locked himself away. He wouldn't talk to anyone. Ibrahim's hands trembled as he held the cup. Did he ever say why? He asked. She shook her head again. No, but he often sat in his room staring at his phone. I think he wanted to call you. But pride, it's a cruel thing. Ibrahim thanked her, his heart heavy with regret. He left the house and headed to the small cafe where he and Karim used to hang out. The smell of coffee and fresh bread filled the air, stirring memories of laughter and long talks. He found Yusuf, an old mutual friend, wiping down tables. When Yusuf saw Ibrahim, his face fell. Ibrahim, he said cautiously. What are you doing here? I need to know what happened to Karim, Ibrahim said, his voice rough. Did he ever talk about us? Yusuf sighed, setting the rag aside. He did. He missed you, you know. But he also felt betrayed, especially about Amina. Ibrahim's chest tightened. Amina. The name alone brought back a storm of guilt and confusion. Karim loved her, Ibrahim, Yusuf continued. Even after she chose you, he never got over that. He told me he felt like you'd stolen the only person who ever saw the real him. Ibrahim looked away, tears stinging his eyes. I didn't mean to hurt him, he whispered. Yusuf shook his head. I know. But that night, he called Amina. She was the last person he talked to before he died. Ibrahim felt the air leave his lungs. Amina, he murmured. Where is she now? She's married, Yusuf replied, eyes full of sadness. But maybe she can give you answers. Ibrahim thanked him and left, his heart pounding. Amina had been the love of his life, but he'd never realized just how deep Karim's feelings for her went. That betrayal, no matter how unintentional, still cut deep. He found Amina living in a small house on the edge of the city. Her husband was away, and she answered the door alone. Her smile faltered when she saw him. Ibrahim, she said softly. It's been a long time. He nodded, struggling to find words. Amina, I need to know about Karim, he said, his voice breaking. I need to understand. She sighed, her eyes full of pain. Come in. They sat in her living room, the air thick with old memories. She looked at him, her hands trembling. That night, she began, Karim called me. He sounded so lost. Ibrahim. He kept apologizing. He said he couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Ibrahim's throat tightened. Guilt? Amina nodded. He felt like he'd failed you, like he'd failed himself. He couldn't forgive himself for letting your friendship end that way. She reached into a small box on the table and pulled out her phone. He sent me this, she whispered, showing Ibrahim the final text message. Ibrahim's eyes blurred as he read the words, I'm sorry. I never wanted to lose you both. Tears streamed down his face. The pain in his chest felt unbearable. Was asking for forgiveness, Amina whispered. But I never answered. I didn't know what to say. Ibrahim wiped his tears, his heart breaking. Neither did I, he choked out. The room fell silent, heavy with regret. As he left Amina's house, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Ibrahim felt like the world was closing in on him. Every step felt heavier than the last. His phone buzzed in his pocket. With trembling hands, he pulled it out. Another text. You can't run forever, Ibrahim. Face what you did. His heart froze. This wasn't just his imagination. The calls, the shadows, the texts, they were tied to Karim's pain and his own guilt. He knew then that the haunting was real, and he couldn't hide from it any longer. He had to face the truth. He had to make it right. But as the night settled in, he wondered, could he ever find forgiveness? Or was he already too late? The night air was thick with rain and wind, sending chills down Ibrahim's spine. He stood alone among rows of silent graves, the darkness pressing in around him like a heavy blanket. Each step felt harder than the last, as if the earth itself wanted him to turn back. His heart pounded in his chest. In his trembling hand he held his phone, the same phone that had been buzzing at odd hours, delivering cryptic texts that sounded too much like Karim. The ground beneath his feet was soaked, mud clinging to his shoes. Lightning flickered across, the sky casting eerie shadows that danced among the gravestones. He found Karim's grave, a simple headstone worn by the years and rain. He took a deep breath, tears stinging his eyes. The pain of guilt was a weight he could no longer bear. Karim, I'm here. I know I let you down. I should have been there. I should have listened. He glanced at the phone in his hand. The screen glowed, showing that number, the same number that had tormented him night after night. He hesitated, his thumb hovering over the call button. Please, just let me make this right. With trembling fingers, he pressed call. The wind howled louder, rattling the trees around him. Thunder rumbled like a distant drum. The ringing felt like an eternity. Then, Ibrahim. Ibrahim froze. The voice was unmistakable, Karim's, but it sounded twisted, filled with sorrow and anger. Why did you leave me, Ibrahim? Why did you choose her over me? We were brothers, and you threw it all away. Ibrahim's breath caught in his throat. Tears streamed down his face, mixing with the rain. Karim, I'm sorry. I didn't know how much I hurt you. I never meant to. I was selfish, and I didn't see the pain I caused you. The voice on the other end grew harsher, each word like a dagger. You promised you'd always be there for me. But when I needed you most, you were gone. And Amina, she was my light, and you took her from me. Ibrahim dropped to his knees, the mud soaking his pants. Lightning cracked overhead, lighting up his tear-streaked face. I was blind, Karim. I thought she loved me, and I thought you'd moved on. I never wanted to hurt you like this. I wish I could go back. I'd do it all differently. The wind seemed to roar around him, carrying Karim's voice like a curse. You betrayed me, Ibrahim. You left me alone in my darkest hour. I tried to forgive you, but the pain, it was too much. Ibrahim's sobs shook his whole body. He pressed the phone to his forehead, desperate, broken. Please, Karim, forgive me. I can't live like this anymore. I can't sleep. I see your face every time I close my eyes. I need your forgiveness. For a moment, the line went silent, the wind dying down as if the world itself was holding its breath. Then Karim's voice returned, softer but colder than before. Forgiveness isn't so easily given, Ibrahim. Some wounds cut too deep. Some betrayals can't be undone. Ibrahim's heart shattered. His sobs echoed through the cemetery, mixing with the sound of the rain. Please, I beg you. I can't carry this anymore. The voice grew faint, like it was drifting away. Then carry it you must, until you understand the pain you left me with. The call ended. The screen went black. Ibrahim sat there alone, the rain soaking him to the bone. His tears mixed with the mud as he lowered his head, his heart heavier than it had ever been. He had come seeking forgiveness, but all he found was the ghost of his own guilt. Slowly he stood, his legs weak and trembling. The cemetery felt even darker now, the shadows deeper and more menacing. As he turned to leave, he knew the journey wasn't over. Karim's voice would haunt him until he found a way to make things right, or until the guilt consumed him completely. And so, he walked away, the night swallowing him whole, the wind whispering his name. Fade out. The moon hangs low in the sky, casting a pale glow over the empty swings and rusted slide. Ibrahim sits on one of the creaking swings, head bowed, eyes hollow with exhaustion. The wind whispers through the trees. A voice, carried on the wind, familiar, yet cold, calls to him. Do you feel the weight of your choices, Ibrahim? The pain you caused? Ibrahim grips the chains of the swing, his knuckles white. Yes. Every day. Every night. I see your face in every shadow. I hear your voice in every silence. You left me alone when I needed you most. You chose yourself over our friendship and over me. Tears slipped down Ibrahim's cheeks. I know. I'm sorry. I was weak. I didn't understand how much you needed me. Now you have a choice. Live a life of redemption. Help others. Avoid your mistakes. Or join me in death as penance for your sins. Ibrahim's breath catches. Death? Karim, I don't know if I'm strong enough. Suddenly, Ibrahim is pulled into a memory. Karim laughs and splashes him with water. You're my brother, Ibrahim. No matter what happens, we'll always be there for each other. Always, man. Nothing can break us. The memory shifts. Karim's face twists with anger, rain pouring. You lied to me. You went behind my back. How could you, Ibrahim? Did what I had to. You wouldn't understand. The memory fades. Ibrahim clutches the swing, tears streaming. You remember now, don't you? The laughter, the dreams, and the betrayal. I remember everything, every smile, every tear. I ruined it all because I was selfish. Then choose, Ibrahim. Live to honor me by helping others, or join me in the darkness. Ibrahim lifts, his eyes, voice shaking. I want to be free from this pain, but I also want to make things right. I want to live for you, Karim. To help others like I should have helped you. Silence. The wind calms. Then live. Carry my memory. Help others. Avoid the path I took. Let your guilt guide you, but don't let it destroy you. Ibrahim takes a deep breath, his voice stronger. I promise, Karim, I'll live for both of us. I'll honor you with every choice I make. The voice fades into the wind. Then go, Ibrahim. Let the light guide you. Ibrahim wipes his tears. He steps away from the swing, footsteps steady, heading into the night, determined to make things right. Ibrahim stands at the edge of his neighborhood park, hands shoved in his pockets, the crisp air filling his lungs. He looks around, taking in the laughter of children, the quiet conversations of old friends. For the first time in months, the world feels a little brighter. He takes a slow, steady breath and thinks of Karim, of all the times they shared. The laughter, the fights, the pain that followed. He whispers, I'll honor you, my brother, I promise. Determined to make amends, Ibrahim begins to reach out. He calls old friends, ones he'd pushed away when guilt consumed him. He sits in small cafes, listening to their stories, apologizing for the ways he'd vanished. One by one, the walls begin to come down. He visits Amina, standing on her porch, hands trembling. She opens the door, eyes wary but kind. I'm sorry, Ibrahim chokes out. For everything, I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know how to fix it back then. Amina's eyes soften, tears brimming. We both lost so much, Ibrahim. But I know you're trying to make things right. That's all Karim would have wanted. Her forgiveness brings a rush of relief. Ibrahim feels lighter than he has in years. A week later, Ibrahim volunteers at a local crisis center. He sits with teens who remind him of himself and Karim, angry, scared, full of questions. He shares his story, voice steady but emotional. I thought I was strong by pushing people away, but real strength is being there for each other. I learned that too late for Karim, but I can help you learn it now. The teens listen, nodding. Some cry, some thank him. And in their eyes, Ibrahim sees the hope he'd long forgotten. Finally, one quiet evening, Ibrahim visits Karim's grave. The wind rustles the leaves and he kneels, pressing his hand to the cool stone. I kept running from the pain, he says softly, tears streaming. But I won't run anymore. I promise to carry your memory as a guide, not a curse. The air feels different, still heavy with loss, but now calm, like Karim's spirit is at peace. The phone that once haunted him sits silent in his pocket. No more calls, no more whispers in the dark. Just the quiet hum of the world moving on. Ibrahim keeps the phone, though. He needs the reminder, a reminder of the price of anger, of guilt, of letting the past consume the present. As he walks away from the grave, head held high, He knows the real journey is just beginning. A journey of forgiveness, of helping others, of living for both, himself and Karim. And for the first time, he feels ready. Ibrahim stands at the edge of the riverbank, his breath turning to mist in the cool dawn air. The first rays of sunlight peek over the horizon, painting the water in soft shades of gold and pink. He pulls the old phone from his pocket, the phone that once held Karim's voice, his guilt, and his pain. He looks at it one last time. Memories, flashing through his mind like lightning. Karim's laughter, Karim's anger, Karim's final message. A shiver runs down Ibrahim's spine. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. He knows now that holding on to the past won't bring Karim back. It will only keep the pain alive. With trembling hands, he lifts the phone over the water. For a moment, he hesitates. Part of him still clings to the ghost of his friend, to the voice that called him in the night. But then he remembers Karim's smile, the way they dreamed of the future together. "Rest now, my brother." Ibrahim whispers, "I promise to live for both of us." He lets go. The phone hits the water with a small splash, sinking beneath the surface. The ripples spread outward, fading as the sun climbs higher. Ibrahim smiles softly, tears brimming, but his heart lighter than it has been in years. He turns away from the river, the warmth of the rising sun on his face. Forgiveness, he realizes, is not just for the dead, it's for the living too. With that thought, he takes his first steps toward the future. A future where Karim's spirit rests in peace, and Ibrahim finally feels free.